flew places and countries, and I named the countries in the book where the President and the Army still says we weren't there. Type missions were normally performed at night using infrared and SLAR. SLAR is side-looking airborne radar. The infrared will see things on the ground because of their heat signatures, and we can pick that up. So those are the type missions that I flew. I flew 66 combat missions until my last one when I was shot down.
Now, you wrote your wife some letters. How many letters did you write her while you were gone overseas?
I was there 103 days, of which 10 days I was in the burn unit at China Beach Hospital. So I didn't write any letters during that 10-day period. So 93, 92 days was all the time period that I had to write letters. And I actually wrote her 78 letters. Wow. Total of 78 letters, including one on August the 11th, the night that I took off and was shot down the morning of August the 12th. So I actually wrote her a letter and mailed it before I got in my plane for a combat mission that night.
Wow. You know, that's love right there, folks. That's real love.
She saved them all.
And she's still here today.
Yes. And then the book deals with that struggle of being shot down by a heat-seeking missile, the injuries in combat, the different wounds, multiple wounds, 14 different injuries and wounds, recovering from that, nearly 80 surgeries, 24, 25 under general anesthetic, the rest under local, still having surgical problems to this day, still having to deal with pain to this day, and overcoming that and continuing to serve the Army for 35 years after they gave me a 2% chance of living, which not many people would do. We had been married 10 months when I went to Vietnam, and I told her, don't believe any reports you get until you see the body, because I'm gonna come back. And they reported me killed in action for 5 days. And my CO had misidentified me because my face was burned so badly. And my CO started crying when he came in the hospital, and I asked him what was wrong. He said, we reported you killed in action and the observer had lived. And it was just the opposite. My observer was killed and I survived. Yeah, I kept trying to get my Purple Heart and other medals that I was entitled to from combat. And the Army, Department of Army, and the President kept saying their story was we weren't there, their cover story, because the missions were all classified secret or top secret. So it took me 36 years finally to get my Purple Heart. And the way I got it, I had to sue the Army through the Military Court of Appeals. And 5 federal judges ordered them to present me with the medals. And then it took another 6 years with the help of Senator Scott, Tim Scott here in South Carolina, to get the Purple Heart for Daniel Richards, and I presented it to his family. I fought for 40 years to get Daniel's medal as well as mine, and nobody else knew about what happened to Daniel except for me. His own family was told that he died in an accident and it wasn't even combat related. That was the cover story that the Army told the families, and that's not true. He died in my plane, sitting a foot away from me in the observer seat, on a combat mission, facing the enemy, hit by a heat-seeking missile. Now, if that ain't combat, I don't know what is. But that's not the way it was written up, and his parents died not knowing their son was an American hero facing the enemy when he was killed. His nieces and nephews and cousins know it, but he was an only child. And his family went all those years not knowing that he was an American hero.
Wow, that's you took on a big feat there with that one. And
that's one of the chapters, one of the final chapters in the book, of the struggle to get recognition for Daniel. Daniel Richards is his name. He is on West 1, line 64 on the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. So it's up high. It's about 7 feet high from the ground. But if you go there, if you look at West 1, line 64, you'll see the name Daniel M. Richards. And he was my observer that was killed that day, August the 12th, 1972.
Man, well, congratulations on doing that. That took a long time, but you kept pushing through on this stuff.
Absolutely. I'm the type of person that doesn't quit. They told me I'd never walk again. They told me I wouldn't see again. They told me I couldn't stay in the Army. I stayed another 35 years, not all active, 9 years active and 28 in reserves, but I had to do it just to prove to them that I could, and I had to walk to prove to them. It took me a long time to get where I could walk again and use my hands again and do things and become useful, but I did it even though I was in pain and am still in pain on a daily basis, but I don't let pain defeat me. And that's one of the stories that comes out in the book is what are you going to do with the rest of your life? So what? You've been in an accident. Is that going to dominate the rest of your life? You've been shot. So what are you going to do getting over it? And what are you going to do to improve the world? I'm an ordained chaplain with the DAV, Chapter 17, Somerville. I'm an ordained deacon in my church. I do ministry. I help people. I preach funerals of veterans, and I do veterans funerals for no charge to the family anywhere in the state of South Carolina. I can't go and bring any of my dead soldiers back from Vietnam and revive them. But my Vietnam veterans and other veterans that die in this state, I will render military honors at their funeral, and I will participate in their funerals to present honor to them and their family for their service to the country.
Ready, aim,